Good evening. This is Life Live, and this is episode 17. I wanted to talk about a few things, so I thought I'd start my live podcast and see how things go. So the title of this particular episode is going to be called Looking Forward. And I've talked about a lot of things in the past and things that we go through, things we're going through right now, and how we can continue to move forward. And that is a difficult thing to do, right? Because as we go through these difficult times throughout a day or a week or every moment, it's really hard to kind of look forward and think about things that we can do and see and where we can be in the future. So I chose looking forward instead of moving forward because, first off, we need to know where we are going and kind of have an idea of maybe of a direction, or at least try to find a direction. Once you begin to look around you and figure out which way you want to go, then we can begin moving forward. But it really has to start with hope or a purpose, or at least something within you taking you there. Because it's not about coasting through life and just moving along to move along. It's about you. It's about finding that direction and finding where you want to go and really how you're going to get there. One of the things that I'll talk about in this is a movie that came out last year, and it's The Greatest Showman. I don't know if you've seen it or anybody has out there seen it. Well, I know a lot of people have seen it, but those of you listening, it's, if you're not familiar with it, it's a musical. It's about the true story of P.T. Barnum, the circus, essentially, and kind of how it started. And it's really interesting to see who he is and where he came from, and that was one of the reasons that kind of made me like and appreciate the movie and make me think about doing an episode on looking forward. The other thing that I think I mentioned in the past is oddly, for me it's not odd, but I'm actually a really big fan of Disney. And so I kind of wanted to start this with a Walt Disney quote. And Walt Disney states, "We keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things, because we are curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths." I like that because the fact that he's using the term moving forward and keeping moving forward means no matter, what you're going through in a day, or at any moment, you're able to continue to move forward. And for a lot of people, that is about having found a direction and moving in that direction. For other people, it kind of is, for right now, kind of coasting in life and moving along as things move along just so you can make it through the day. And I know that that's difficult. I remember, again, back in middle school and high school and trying to just be excited to wake up and then to just kind of find the way and the energy and the motivation to get dressed and to, walk outside my house and then go to this place where I felt nothing but ridicule at the time. And it's hard. And it's all about, at least for this quote with me, about moving forward. So there are hopefully things in your life that you can find that you appreciate, or the idea of something, the idea of appreciating something. For me, from a Disney aspect, it's an idea. It's about an idea on making the world better. And at least that's how I interpret it, and that's how I picture it. Finding something that you look forward to doing or seeing or experiencing or watching or listening can help you find something you love other than yourself, right? Because that's the first thing we want to look at. And I know that trying to love yourself, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you think about all the things that people have said, or the things that your friends have said or your family has said, it can be difficult to look in a mirror and try to think good thoughts. I know that. And so I think it's important to try to find things around you or things that you can bring into your life that do give you a direction or do give you something to look forward to. Like for me, excuse me, one of the things that I like and appreciate, not about Disney as a corporation, but I like where it came from. I like the idea. I like that an individual or group of individuals, older people, Walt Disney, of course, wanting to try to bring happiness. And when you think about the movies that he's made, or that Disney as a company has made, and if you've ever been to Disney World or Disneyland, you really, at least for me, I look around and I can appreciate the amount of detail that has gone into it. It's not like going to, a different theme park. It's not like going to Six Flags or Busch Gardens or, whatever the theme park might be, because to me, oddly enough, when I look and go to those places, to me it just reminds me of money. And all they really want to do is make money. Not that Disney doesn't, not like any other company does it, but I like the detail that is taken into what like the Disney parks go into. They spent time on determining how many steps an individual will take before they throw something on the ground. And I think it's 14 or 15 that they determined. And so if you've noticed in all the Disney parks, there are trash cans literally 13 to 15 steps in every direction. Now, I know that doesn't really come into play as far as looking forward, but it's about the overall concept, right? You trying to find something that you like, or kind of like the Walt Disney quote, moving forward, opening new doors, and doing new things because of curiosity helps leading us down new paths. So it's finding new paths and things that you can integrate into your life that you enjoy. And so part of this particular episode about looking forward is trying to find things that you like doing or doing things that you love. And again, it might be difficult to try to think of something right offhand, or you might have something already, or there might be something that you've always thought about doing that maybe you thought you weren't that good for, but you don't know until you try. And I tend to tell a lot of people, I see people, even children, get frustrated when, let's say, they try to do something for the first time. They might watch all these different videos on YouTube of kids younger than them dribbling basketballs or whatever it might be. I'll just use a basketball for an example. But, I've seen kids who have picked up basketballs for the first time and they get so frustrated that they can't even dribble. And it's all about understanding things in life, not everything in life, I should say, is easy. It takes practice. I mean, you can't walk out the door and pick up a golf club for the first time and expect to be Jack Nicklaus or any big sports person or music and things like that. These things take practice, and I think with that, there's a good thing that comes along with that, right? Because let's say that you find something that you want to do. Let's say you want to learn to be fantastic at basketball or playing a musical instrument. Then you are taking and focusing your energy on you. And at the end, you're able to, over time and practice, and every milestone that you get over, you have something that you can look back on and realize that that's something that you achieved on your own. Now, not only that, you've also spent the time to focus on you. Now, maybe you're trying to learn guitar so that you can write a song and sing it to or play for somebody that you like at school or somebody you want to impress. Okay. In previous episodes, I've talked about doing things for you and not doing them for other people, because the ultimate outcome is you're not going to be as happy as you think you would be once you've accomplished those things. Now, don't get me wrong. There is certainly self-gratification. There are, the joy of seeing people idol you, but idolization is not something that you really want to go for. And I've talked about that in other episodes as far as, we take a look at reality TV. It's not, I think that shapes people's minds into something that shouldn't necessarily be shaped on. You look at, big people who got these reality TV shows and everybody wants to live a lifestyle like them, but it's not a reality, and it wasn't even for them when it started. The point is, moving forward, but first looking forward and finding these things that you can focus on that help focus on you, make you feel so much better about yourself. So finding things that you love, and it doesn't have to be something that you're doing. Like I've said before, for me, I love music. I love movies. I've shared where those kind of come from, and it's an eye-opening experience to find something that you necessarily wouldn't think that you liked, and it end up becoming something that you love. And depending on what it is, it might end up being a career for you. So it really depends, and that's all about trying to bring in new things in your life and trying to look in different directions, and not only choosing one path, choosing multiple paths, because the more options you've got, the less restrained and restricted you feel as a person. So for me, movies, I like TV shows. That kind of depends. But I think it's also important to find things that make you laugh, comedy in life, for a number of different reasons. I think first off, laughter is something that is something that's very important in your life and something that you should always experience, because there's just something about laughing and smiling that it does to your body, and it's really a part of making you feel better. So, some people find books and poetry and things like that to be moving, and that's something else, right? Because, if you're a person that reads books and you like to get lost in the stories, and you become, for some people, a character in that story, and you can relate, it's about, again, finding new things in your life that you can bring in that can make you feel better about the world around you and what you're experiencing. Again, for me specifically, it's about emotions. I can really only watch TV shows that I get emotionally involved in. I really only watch TV or movies that really move me, and I like comedy. Of course, I think one of my favorite TV shows is Scrubs. And I can remember, I think I may have mentioned that in the past, only because I relate a lot to Zach Braff's character. And if you take a look at that, if you're somebody who's picked on for the way that you look, or the way you act, or the way you talk, or the facial expressions you make, and so on and so forth, you take a look at a character like that, and it's a beloved character. So my point in saying that is, it's not about trying to change who you are. It's about finding yourself and loving what you have inside of you. So, that's, to me, that's just a key thing. I feel like I could talk hours about that, but of course I want to keep moving on. So, one of the other things that I mentioned at the beginning was seeing the movie The Greatest Showman. Now, while I like music, I don't necessarily like musicals, but this one overall struck a chord with me, and I won't go into any detail because this isn't a movie review, but there were a lot of things that spoke to me personally that I think is relative to what you might be going through at certain stages in your life. The movie is about, like I said, the real-life story of P.T. Barnum. But what's interesting is that the movie starts from when he was a kid up to, when he becomes a man and has a family and everything else. It starts out with, P.T. Barnum as a kid, and he's poor. One of the key shots is that, he looks down at his shoes that have holes in them. His toes are sticking out the top. His father is a person who, works with fabrics and clothing, and him and his father end up going to this very rich man's house, and the father's fitting the man for a suit, and the son sees the father's daughter. Now, in the particular shot, he's the daughter's being taught to be prim and proper, and how to eat, and how to hold a cup, and how to drink, and things like that. The reason I bring that up is because it's a pretty big juxtaposition between the two. This is a boy who's got absolutely nothing, it seems like, and then you have this girl and this family who have everything. And of course, they end up, as they get older, falling in love and building a family together. One of the shots in the movie is when P.T. Barnum comes back as a man, and he tells the I can't remember her name now. The daughter tells the father's daughter how he is going to basically love her and give her everything that the father has given her, to try to to be there to prove that he can also be a man. And it's interesting because he goes on, and he builds an empire. And in another scene, during or after one of these big performances, he's there with the father ends up coming to this big gala, and the father is still basically making fun of P.T. Barnum and how he's still a loser, and how he is still trash. And the great thing is that Hugh Jackman, who plays P.T. Barnum, obviously struggles with this even as an older man, and has become successful, and it still hurts him. But he still continues to move on, and he still continues to try to be a better father, to be a better person. And my point in all this, and I feel like I say point a lot, but the point in all this is that even though he has been beaten down since he was a kid, he continued to move forward, and he continued to see and try to find the good and, of course, the odd things in life to create a circus. But it was all about trying to make people happy, and it came from a good place. And I think that's why I say, finding things that you like, finding things that make you happy can really help build you. And it's not, I feel like saying, I feel corny saying that just find things that make you happy and you'll be happy. That's, of course, not the case. But for me, at least, I can see that as being something that's important. And so as the movie goes on, he ends up spending time away from his family and his kids and his wife. And one of the things that I love at the end of the movie is that, again, it's a musical. He ends up singing this song. I'm not going to read all the lyrics, and I won't play. I'm actually going to play a little clip just for a second, and I'll read again a little bit more of the lyrics, but I wanted to just play a clip in case you haven't heard it. So this is the song From Now On, sung by Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Showman. I'm only going to play a few seconds.
From now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights.
It's playing. I hope you can actually hear that.
On, what's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. Tonight, let this promise in me start like an anthem in my heart. From now on, from now on.
Now, if you haven't seen it, it might sound corny or a little bit out of context, but the lines in that, from that particular thing is he's stating, from now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. From now on, What's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. And so, again, this is the end of the movie, and I'm not giving anything away. But these strike a chord, and I hope that they do with you as well, because it's about striving to be someone, striving to be popular, striving to be number one, striving to get recognition. And in the end, he realizes that he's been blinded by these lights, showbiz lights in this particular example. But the point is he's really realizing that what he has strived for, other than being a good person and a good father and a good husband and everything, he's realized that he knows what his purpose is, and he's no longer going to hold off that purpose of being a good person, being a good father, and being a good husband. And from now on, that's how he's going to be. And again, when we start to think about all of the things that you go through in a day, and what, the atrocities that might be said to you, there's got to be a point where, first off, you start to really block out this outside noise, and secondly, you start to take a stand in defining you and finding yourself and really moving forward and looking forward. And not only about looking forward just to be able to take it day by day, but looking forward to where, I would hope that, somewhere inside of you where you see yourself, where you see yourself for you being yourself, not for, you doing and being somebody for someone else. Try to find where, where you can go, or at least the direction you want to go in. Find that direction and don't wait. Stop putting it off. And that's kind of what the lyrics are saying. It starts now. It's not going to be, what could wait till tomorrow starts tonight. So start it. Start to try to find that path and build the road for yourself. And it's not easy. No, it's not easy. I know it's not easy. But in several of the other episodes that I've done before, and I can't stress this enough, and I feel like I've said it a million times, but life changes. People change. What's important today is not going to be important very soon down the road. And it's frustrating and aggravating when I see and hear about children that have ran away, or children who have done terrible things to themselves or their friends, their family, or even strangers. It's terrible when I hear about, there's been a shooting at a school. When I hear that, obviously that person is going through very difficult times, and they are really looking at everything that's external. They are listening to everything that's external. It maybe at one point in time had a path or had a direction that they wanted to go in. It's especially going from different grade levels, from elementary to middle to high school to college. Those are big changes. And at each of those stages, you initially have an idea of where you want to go, or what you want to be, or what you want to do. And a lot of times we lose sight of that, and it becomes a whole ordeal of doubt. If you had that direction, and then you started having all of these external resources telling you all these things that you're not, or making fun of you, or ridiculing you, or whatever it might be, you lose sight of that, and then it becomes frustration. And then through that frustration becomes clearly anger, and then resentment. And then you get someone who just is at a breaking point, wants to prove everybody wrong, or get back at everybody and get back at those who made them feel the way that they did. Now, of course, we can't take a pill or wake up tomorrow and be like, everything's going to be fine, nothing's going to bother me, it's just going to roll off my back. No, but you also have to remember that, let's say that the majority of these events happen at school. While school does take up certainly a large part of the day, the rest of the day doesn't. And while you can have your phone and while you can, look on all different social media and, dwell on these things that might be said about you or your friends or what have you, that time needs to be focused on you at least for 5 minutes. I mean, take 5 minutes. If you get out of school at 2:30 or 3:30 and you get home, and before you get on your laptop or tablet or whatever it might be, or before you go out and do something, just like, I don't know, do something silly or do something that you'd want to do but just for you, and just do it for 5 minutes. It makes a big difference. And I know it might sound corny, and if I were back in high school and middle school and somebody told me something like that, I would just think that they're insane. I know. But being so many years later, it saddens me on everything that I missed out on for me. And when I think about the amount of time that I spent angry at myself because of who I was, and I was only angry at myself because of what everybody was saying to me, it was just frustrating. And again, trying to bring this back around in some sort of circle, when I look and listen to The Greatest Showman, to me, it's all about, somebody who was beat up for a very long time. They became successful and thought that that's what would make them and everybody around them happy. And in the end, it didn't. It came down to doing something for him. And when I think about, again, all of these terrible things that happen in schools and public places, there's such little that those individuals could have done to change that aspect and how they felt. So that's why I say doing what you love. I know it sounds corny, but it really helps you focus on you and accomplishing the things that you can do. The other big thing is blocking outside noise. Again, I know it's difficult, but think about this. Okay, if you took every single thing or a handful of things that people have said about you, and you put all of those audio phrases together and play them at once, in the end, all you hear is noise. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means something to you, obviously, because that's an emotion that somebody's attacking. But the overall picture is, all of those, hopefully, you can learn to drown out. And I'm hoping that through all of this, and throughout your life, at some point in time, you've learned to focus on yourself, and you've learned to see these beautiful things about you. And I don't want you to be like me. I don't want you to look back and think of the years that you lost in finding you and happiness and love and respect. It's big. So blocking outside noise is a really big thing. I mean, if you think about it, there are some people that are really good at deflecting it. For me, for a while, especially in middle school, because I was so tall and so skinny, I kind of learned to become a class clown. Now, for me, that was more about deflection, because if I could laugh at myself, then it wouldn't bother me when other people were laughing at me. And now that's a coping mechanism, obviously, and it kind of worked for me for a while, but still over time, I didn't focus on me, and so it became frustrating for me. But when you take a look at other people that are really good at this, like comedians and writers, they're able to take something bad and turn it into a routine. Now, again, this is still a coping mechanism, but through that, they're able to find something that makes them feel good. And it becomes about them. Now, in the beginning, of course, it didn't, quite possibly, because, if we take a look at comedians and they're really great comedians or just starting out, whatever they might be, whatever level might be, they're still, first off, putting themselves out there. Secondly, they most likely are talking about things in their life, things that they've done, things that they've witnessed, things that they've been a part of that are funny and embarrassing because it makes other people laugh. And at some point in time, they start to appreciate the things that they're saying because other people can see the humor in it. Now, this can be taken a couple of different ways. One, again, that helps you really deal with the pain and the struggle that you're going through. But secondly, it can also bring other people happy. And I use a comedian as an example because, their goal, especially in the beginning, is about feeling good about themselves. If they can say something funny and somebody else laughs at them, that's a good ego boost. But they're also doing really great things for other people. Again, laughter is a great thing. It kind of allows you to escape the moment or the moments that you're going to be in. I tend to watch, if there's nothing else that I can find during the day to kind of make myself relax, I'll listen to a stand-up comedian because it's taking me away from whatever I'm dealing with at the moment and finding laughter in something else. And again, it's about having something from a comedic perspective of making other people happy. And those other people are going to most likely, if they like the comedian, going to want to have their friends listen to it. And then, then it becomes this kind of community thing. And it's, I don't know, I'm not a comedian by any means, but I've always found that very interesting. And so I just use that as an example. There are people who are really good at deflecting, and they're able to take that information, internalize it, turn it into something good, not only for themselves, but also for other people. I think I've also mentioned this before, but this is kind of an example again about dealing things that are difficult and inadvertently finding a path to move forward on. For many years, for over 11 years, I was an instructor. Now, I'm a very shy person. I really was when I was a kid, again, because of what I'd gone through. For my job, and forgive me if I've already said this before, but for my job, I was given the ultimatum of teaching a particular part of a class. And it drove me nuts. I mean, I think I had a week to prepare. I already knew the material, but the fact of standing in front of strangers and talking and trying to not think about what they're thinking about me while also trying to remember what I'm supposed to be technically talking about was infuriating and frustrating. And because of that, I think I talked for 5 minutes out of an hour lecture, and I froze. It was dead silence. And luckily there was another instructor in the back of the room who was able to come up and finish. Now, I took a lot from that. Again, I didn't like speaking in front of strangers. I didn't like speaking in front of people. Even though this podcast is still a little on the odd side for me, but I'm trying to do this obviously as a goodness, and that's kind of how I looked at instructing, where I'm educating people for something good that would benefit them. Now, the reason I tell this story is because a lot of people would have taken that experience and completely shut down and always been afraid of public speaking and never done anything again. And maybe even have tried to change their lives or their careers so they wouldn't be in that position. Or you could kind of do like I did. Now, at the time, I didn't really have a choice because my boss said you can either teach or you can find another job. And of course, I didn't want to do that. So I kind of, I spent a lot of time on myself, and I spent a lot of time on the material that I was teaching, and became really involved with it. And I wanted to be the best instructor that I could be for the people. What that ended up doing for me is, of course, starting a many year career in teaching. Now, if you would have said to me in my teens that I was going to be a teacher speaking in front of strangers, I would have said you've lost your mind. But it set a path for me, and it gave me a career. And that's why I do this. I hope that you can take the things that I say and utilize them, bring them to something that you can do, make them be who you want to be, or if anything, it will either give you a path to look down for you to realize this isn't what you want to do, or B, it gives you a path to where you realize I can be better, I want to be better, and it start a new path for you, no matter what it is. So my point in saying all of this is that just because you do something for the first time, like dribbling a ball or talking in front of a class or doing public speaking, don't let that deter you from looking into that further. Robert Downing Jr. said a quote a couple years ago that I thought was interesting regarding kind of this. His quote is, "I think that the power is the principle of moving forward as though you have the confidence to move forward, eventually gives you the confidence when you look back and see what you've done." To me, that speaks volumes. Again, stepping out of where you are, trying to block out all the noise that you're hearing around you and about yourself and what you think about. And it's about forging your own path, because when you look back, you can be astounded by what you can accomplish. And forget about the people around you that you think are dragging you down. Because you live with you for your entire life. These other people around you and the things that they say don't define you. Don't let them define you. So overall, this is about looking forward and forging your own path. When I say forging your own path, don't let other people steer you. Be the driver of your own life. Wear what you want to. Wear your hair like you want to. Be colorful. But do it for you. Don't do it just to be different, just to get a reaction. Do it for you. Again, like teaching or public speaking. Of course, I was forced to do that, but I could have quit. I could have said, this isn't for me, and maybe found another position in the company. But it made me realize that there are things that I can do, and there are things that I can overcome. And I just wish that I could come into all of your lives and help you do that. And the only way I know how to do that is by doing this, at least speaking to you. So I hope that this helps. The last thing I want to say about forging your own path, remember, not letting other people steer you. Do what you want to do, and do it for you. And don't idolize. If you are trying to forge your own path based upon someone else that you idolize, isn't doing it for you. Now, if there is a particular aspect of that person or that object that you idolize that you can make your own, that's fantastic. I think about that from Disney. I don't want to be Disney, but I wish that I could change lives like he did, not for notoriety, but because I want that for you. So look around you. Think of things that you like or people you like, and take the great parts of those pieces and see what resonates with you, and see if that's on the same wavelength as to who you want to be as a person or who you can be. But in the end, do it for you. The last quote I'll leave you with will, of course, be another Walt Disney quote. His quote says, "The more you like yourself," let me start that over. "The more you like yourself, the less you are like anyone else, which makes you unique." Everyone is unique in their own way, and I hope that you can block out all of the things that people are saying and find you. I have this. I do these live every Tuesday and Friday at 9:30 p.m. And I have the ability to chat. And I have an email that you can email if you'd like to talk. Otherwise, I hope that you continue to listen and that this can help. That's all I want to do. I want you to be happy. So thank you for listening. And I will see you, or I guess I'll talk on Tuesday at 9:30. Until then, take care of yourself.